And one of the other areas in which he's feeling very defensive is being called weird. For 7 years, we've been, as mental health professionals, we've been trying to sell the world on the fact that Donald Trump has a personality. We could have just called him weird. Because weird is working, folks. All right. And guess who else is pushing weird? The mean people at the Lincoln Project.
These people are eccentric, offbeat, maybe a little kooky. Yeah, they're oddballs. Not quite normal, but hey, it's America. We're okay with that. But this guy is weird in a bad way.
If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, we actually had more people.
Weird in a creepy way.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Weird in a dangerous way.
In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Just weird.
Don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird?
99% of the things I'm saying are common sense.
Too weird to be president.
These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell.
A lot of talent and a lot of skill being put into these ads, I think.
That's a good point. I'm glad you say that, because these people are working really, really hard. And the people who work with, George Conway, especially Barry Rubin, a shout out, who makes the ads. It really is a talent, and they put a lot of work into it. Well, it's the work is worth it, because guess what? He just can't stand people calling him weird. It's driving him batty. And, one of the problems with having to defend yourself against these things, if you're defending yourself, you're losing, right? So let's hear Donald Trump explaining how he's not weird. I'm not weird.
See it a little bit by this whack job. He said, we're weird. That JD and I are weird. I think we're extremely normal people. Like you, exactly like. He's weird. Did you ever see him go on the stage and go like crazy? It's like, between his movement and her laugh, there's a lot of craziness. I'd say a step further than weird. Weird is a nice word by comparison.
I'm not weird. You're weird.
See, it's a very weak response.
Very weak.
Very weak response. And again, he's off balance, because Trump is usually, at least a few years ago, he would have been much, much tougher in his response.
Well, that's true. He's also lost a step.
He's declined a lot, actually, a lot. And that's where you see that lack of flexibility in his cognitive functioning.
Because normally he always goes totally on offense. And here he's clearly on defense. Well, look, we've talked about how they keep trying to project onto Kamala and Tim Walz the weird label, right? So, because, that's somehow Donald Trump has gotten through life with 1 third grade defense. It's I'm not the puppet, you're the puppet. And he was good. Somehow he was good at it. Just saying you're the puppet somehow won. But now it's sounding weak, as you say. I don't want to embarrass my stepson, but there's a story that we tell in my family about my stepson. If you know him, he's a very, very nice person. Okay, that's really important to know. So he was being bullied in 3rd grade at his Hebrew day school by some ruffian named Zachary. And, he was trying to come up with a comeback to push Zachary in his place. He said, Zachary Packery. It was a very weak response. And the only reason I know this story is because my wife insists on telling it over and over again. I'm sure he wants to die every time she tells it, wish he would stop telling it. And so they wouldn't want me telling it on the air. But it's that feeling of a weak response. It's a weak comeback. It doesn't feel like a comeback. It feels like a fall down.
Look, there's only 2 comebacks to a bully, right? One is to act like you don't care at all. Just so really. Mm-hmm. Or to come back with something devastating that they haven't thought of. Right. And that's what Trump can't do anymore. He can't do, he never could do the first one, but the second one, he's not doing well anymore.
No, it's just Zachary Packery.
But
You know,
do you remember in that first debate with Hillary when she said something about what he would do if he was in charge of the Justice Department, and without a second break, he said you'd be in jail? I mean, he was really effective. Let's not pretend this is the Trump of 2016 or
Yeah.
even 2020. He's declined a great deal. That's why we're seeing him really kind of floundering, along with the attacks that are pushing him back and taking away the tempo.
That's a very good point. It's really an interaction effect. So let's look at another one of their failed attempts to say that Kamala is the awkward and weird one.
Okay.
Harris visited a Sheetz, which had been cleared prior to arrival, where she awkwardly bought Doritos twice, apparently. So, look, Harry, we've all had cringy, embarrassing moments in our life. We can all identify. I mean, look, I'm sure you can remember the last time you were a little embarrassed buying a bag of Doritos. No, you can't, because there's nothing embarrassing about buying a bag of Doritos. What are they talking about? Right? It's just such a lame, it's Zachary Packery. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to talk about people being weird in retail establishments, let's see an example.
The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. Okay, yeah. She doesn't want to be on film, guys, so just cut her out of anything. Appreciate that, man. I'm J.D. Vance. I'm American Vice President. Good to see you.
Okay.
How long are you working?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay, good. How about you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, good. Just everything, yeah. I mean, a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some of these cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense. How long has this place been around?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good.
So awkward. That's awkward.
I feel bad for him in this one. I do. I don't like JD Vance, but I mean, he's trying and he's failing terribly. They want nothing to do with him.
The first that begins with her saying, "I don't want to be on camera." So she's already said, like, please don't include me in whatever it is you're doing right now. And he just sort of persists. So, how long have you been working here?
And you know
obviously
what?
He doesn't care about any of these.
But John, when people do stuff like this, there's an advance crew. And usually the person, say Vance, would go and meet with everyone and say, do you want to be on camera? I just want to ask you some questions. What do you say? And if they all are like, we're Democrats, then you don't shoot that at that place. Right? I mean, that's the standard. It's standard advance work. So it's incompetent. And poor JD Vance was set up to have these people not like him.
What that reminded me of? I'm sure people can identify with this. When you go into a store with your dad, and he's overly familiar with the people across the counter, trying to make connection with them, you can see that they're bored and they just want to give him his, how long have you been working here at the donut shop? Well, what do you like? You're just going, Dad, please stop doing that.
Well, John, I remember your father. He was like that.
So, like, I'm having post-traumatic stress disorder watching JD Vance in the donut shop.
I'm with you. I'm having it too.
Okay. Well, so let's look at another failed attempt to weirdify the normality of the Kamala Waltz team. Totally not weird. Now, for those people who are just listening, I need to describe this picture to you. It's a picture of Doug Emhoff with his daughter, and she's hugging him. You can see she's putting her arm around his shoulder and pulling him in, and he's hugging her. It's a side-by-side picture, and his hand is kind of resting on her hip, and they're both looking, very happy and content. Totally not weird. Well, I can say that as a father of 3 daughters, that picture is totally not weird. There's nothing weird about that picture. Right? Harry, you have a grown daughter. Is that a weird picture?
Oh, absolutely not. Haley would do that in a minute. That
exactly.
Would be great. Yeah.
So trying to make something to weirdify normality. Now, let's go back to the RNC convention and see if we can see a different parent-child interaction that might qualify as weird. Now, for those of you who are listening, I'm really sorry you cannot possibly appreciate this. This is a montage of 5 pictures of Trump and Ivanka. In one, he's staring at her breasts. In another, he's kissing her on the lips. In another, he's got his hand on her upper buttocks and he's staring at her breasts. And in another one, he's just touching her breasts.
It's no, listen, I'm laughing, but it's so disturbing.